Hi, my name is Travis. Usually you can find me making a mess over on the Dev Tips YouTube channel, but today Alex has invited me to talk to you guys about some of the cool things I've been doing lately. You know, you can make a really fun music player that animates and moves with the beat of the song. Here's a preview of what we're going to be building today. You can see that the player is pumping along to the beat of the song, adding interest and dynamism to the experience, but most of all, it's just really fun. So what we're going to cover today is the JavaScript required to play the song, and then how to use that to animate the player. But first, we actually have to make the song. Alright, now let's get to work. Okay, I'm not going to start from scratch. I have a little thing designed already, and let me show you what that looks like. Here's the markup. It's all inside of an article called Player, and I have, a headline, and then here is where the animated kind of magic is going to happen. We have a spinner wrap, an inner and outer spinner, and then the play button, which I'm calling a play sprite because it's going to turn into both the play button and the stop button once it's playing. Let me show you what that looks like in the rendered markup. So here's that spinner wrap, the outer spinner, the inner spinner, which is the smaller circle here, and then the play sprite. So right now it doesn't work. It's just like this kind of static HTML right now, and with a headline above it. Pretty simple. Let me show you also the Sass that's involved. It's just exactly what you'd expect. I have the background color and the headlines here, they're just styled text. The article is just positioned and sized with the spinners having different sizes and backgrounds applied to the different inner and outer spinners. And yeah, it's pretty simple. The play sprite, you notice that the play sprite here is this. Let me show you the images actually. So this will be the play sprite. It's both a play and a stop button. And then here is the center spinner, and there's the outer spinner. And you can see that they're applied onto a dark background to get this look here, both kind of layered over each other. And that'll come into play in a little bit when I start animating these in a circular fashion. But right now we want to focus on the first step. The first step is getting this player to play music when we've clicked the button. Now also, I want to show you that I've taken the MP3 from that song that I made in front of you guys, and I've also converted it into an OGG, so it can play in Firefox browser. But the MP3 and the OGG are going to be stored inside of this audio tag right here. It's an HTML audio tag, and it's set to loop. And the only custom data type I have right here is that I'm just capturing the beats per minute, and it's 86 beats per minute. Now, I know that because I programmed it, but if you didn't make your own song, or you want to put a popular song, you can easily do a search on the internet for any popular song beats per minute, and you'll find that out pretty easily. So I'm gonna put the beats per minute here in a data attribute, and that's kind of all I need. So it's an audio HTML5 audio tag, and I have two sources listed, and they are the sources of the JamSauce MP3 and the JamSauce OGG, and that is all we have for the markup. Okay, like I said, the first thing we need to do is get the music to play when I click this button. That's the most important thing, because what is a music player that does not play music? So I'm going to run over to my JavaScript file, and and I'm going to make those controls look like this. I'm going to use jQuery to select the player. Actually, let's have it select not the whole player, but just the spinner wrap, right? So spinner wrap, and when you click it, we'll have a function callback. All right, this was what will happen when we click the spinner. The first thing I want to do is just capture what we've just clicked, and I kind of do this a lot. I'm going to say var this, and this is called caching a variable. this. Okay, so instead of dipping into the DOM every time and discovering what this is, I'm just going to cache it in a variable right there. So it's just a little bit more efficient code. And next I want to identify the audio tag. So I'm going to say audio, actually not necessarily the audio tag, but the source, the song within the tag. And this is how we'll do that. We'll say this. And now because the audio tag is actually a sibling of what we just clicked, we have to identify it as a sibling. So we'll use jQuery to say siblings that have the tag of audio. Get that, and then look at the index of 0 for the actual audio. Okay, now what we want to do is, now that we've captured where the audio tag is and we got the song, we want to say, call that variable audio play and use a function to play it. All right, let's save it and see how far we've gotten right now. I'm just going to click this. It should work with anywhere in the spinner wrap when I click it. Okay, we can hear the music, but I noticed that I cannot turn it off, right? This is because I've not written any controls here to turn off. So I just have to refresh the browser to turn it off, and that's no good. So the second thing we want to do, actually, before we move on, I just want to write a quick statement that will say when we're playing the audio. Let's add a class to the spinner wrap because we're adding it to this, and we'll put a class of playing. Okay, that's good. All right, so what we want to do, actually, let's see if the class should show up here on the spinner wrap. There you go, playing, cool. So what we want to do is now enable the user to turn off the audio if they click it again. We'll have to set up an if-then statement. And that will look something like this. If the audio is paused. So if the audio is still playing, then take that audio and pause it. And then we'll say an else, and we'll just tuck this stuff into that else statement right here. Okay, so what we're saying is when you click on this button, check if the audio is paused. If it's not paused, then pause it. If it is paused, then play it. So when we first arrive, it's paused, so let's click it, and it plays. Now, if we click it again, it should pause. And there we go. It's cool. So you see how it is literally pausing it? I want to reset that to where it goes to the beginning every time. Then we'll do that by saying, like, when you pause it, set it to the current time is equal to 0. And now when we play it, and pause it, and play it, I'll start from the beginning of the track. Now that's going to be kind of important because we're animating it to the beat. We need to know really where the beat is. And also, now that I know that I've turned the audio off, I can take this right here, this class of playing, and I can remove it. So I'll say remove class of playing. So when the music starts, this spinner wrap right here should have playing class on it. And then when I stop the music, it should be removed. There we go, perfect. Now we'll take advantage of that by moving over to our CSS, finding that play sprite here. We'll say when there's a class of playing, that's a parent of the play sprite. We'll take the background position and we'll move it to 0 pixels. And now because the image itself of the play sprite is 140, we're going to divide it by 2 and turn that into a negative. So that's negative 70. So 0, negative 70 pixels. All right, let's see what we got. So what should happen here, when I click it, it should, the play class will start on the spin wrap, and this button should turn into a stop button, stop icon. It's wonderful. That visual feedback is really, really important to the user to help them understand what's going on. All right, let's go back to our JavaScript. And the next thing we want to do is expand this variable and discover a few more things about the audio that we have. The first thing I want to know is when I look at this audio tag, I want to get this number here, this beats per minute. That's going to be really important to make the animation move along with the music. So I'm going to make a variable called BPM equals this, which is the thing we clicked, siblings. Actually, it's this right here. Audio, and then from that audio I want to find the data attribute of BPM. Let's do a console log and get that BPM to make sure we've captured it correctly from that audio tag. So if I'm going to go to my console here, when I click this play button, I should get the number right here, the BPM. It's 86. Right, did it correctly. Cool. Fantastic. So now I know the beats per minute. All right, now the second thing we want to do is take the BPM and transfer it into milliseconds. And this will be the rhythm with which the music player will actually pulse. So we'll call this pulse equals the BPM, and we'll multiply it by 1,000. And then we actually have to, before we multiply it by 1,000, we will divide it by 60. Oops, by 60. And we should have, let me check the pulse right here. All right, so let's check that pulse, and this is going to be the number in milliseconds that our player is going to animate, like we saw in the preview. All right, now before we start pulsing things and getting to the exciting bit, I want to show you how to move these circles concentrically in different ways, and it adds a lot of interest. So I'm going to hop over to the CSS. We're going to find that outer spinner here, and we're going to say when there is a class of playing, similar to what we did with the play button, playing, wrapped around, there we go, wrapped around our outer spinner, we want to set an animation to happen, right? Now let's define that animation down here in keyframes. And the first animation is going to be just to, spin it clockwise. So let's just call it that. We'll call it keyframe spin CW for clockwise, okay? And how that's going to work is I'm going to start it from, inside that from, I'm going to rotate it, and I'll do that with the transform. Start at 0 degrees and go to 360 degrees. And then we can go back up to our playing, and this is where we will put the animation. So animation, spin, CW, and I want that to last about 5 seconds. And linear will be my timing, what's it called? Timing function? Something like that. And I want it to go infinitely, so I'll write infinite. Cool. So hopefully, if we did this right, when we click play, the music will play and this outer ring will spin clockwise. Refresh. Oh, that didn't work because I wrote the selector wrong. Playing, not playling. Try again. Oh, it's another misspelling. Linear. Okay, Thought I was going crazy there. Okay, so now the spinner is going clockwise. We want to do the same thing with this inner spinner here. So let's make another keyframe function very similar. We'll call it spin clock counterclockwise, so CCW, and we'll make it go from 360 to 0, exact opposite. And we'll take this same thing and we'll move it down to the spinner center and put CCW on the spinner center. Let's play it and check it work. All right, that feels great already, huh? Really fun to see. All right, now this is where it gets really fun. We have this in our JavaScript, we know how fast the music is. So what we can do is every time that there's a beat, we can make something exciting happen. And what I want to show you is I'm going to make another keyframe, and I'm going to call this one, I'm going to call it pulse. And it'll say from, I'm going to take the thing and transform it. But this time, I'm going to scale it up to 1.3. And then 2, copy, paste, and we're going to scale it up to, actually we're going to just bring it back down to 1. So what's happening here is it's going to make it big and bring it down to 1 over the course of this keyframe. So let me show you what that can be like, and I call this pulse, right? So let me show you what that can be like on the spinner wrap. Okay. Spinner wrap, I'll say and playing. Remember the spinner wrap here in our JavaScript, that's the one that gets the class of playing. So we want to say when the spinner wrap has a class of playing, not when it's wrapped by a class of playing, we want to say animation pulse. We'll make it go 0.5 seconds, so half a second, linear, and just make it happen once, not infinitely. Actually, let's just go infinite. Happen an infinite amount of times. So let's check it. All right, that looks really, really cool and really fun. But the problem is, if you listen to the beat, you see what I'm saying? It's just not working. It's not on beat. So what we want to do is use our JavaScript to control this. I'll say just bounce it just once. All right. Just happened just once on that first one. Okay. And I'll go into my JavaScript. I'm going to script scripts. I'm going to make a function called pulsing. All right. Now, this function finds this and adds a class called pulse. And then we will, let's see, when the audio plays, we will start the function called pulsing, right? So I want to make the animation that we saw here dependent not on a class of playing, but on a class of pulse. And we should have it happen just once. But what this gives us, even though it doesn't look any different than what we had a second ago, what this gives us is that we can control it with the JavaScript now. And the JavaScript, remember, knows how fast our pulse is. So we'll take this pulsing and we'll set a timeout function. We'll say we want this set timeout to happen every beat. So we use the pulse time here, right? And in that set timeout function, we'll be removing this class of pulse. And I want to actually minus a little bit, take a little bit off that pulse so that it can remove the class of pulse fast enough so where it won't be confused when it adds it at the same time. You know what I mean? Because if the add is going to be happening at the same time as pulse, the remove needs to happen a little quicker than pulse. So what am I talking about when I'm saying adding it by the same time as pulse? I'm doing this. Add the class every pulse amount of time. And I'll do that by using a function called setInterval. And in my setInterval, I'll write a function that is calling the function of pulsing. And it'll do that in at an interval of pulse. Does that make sense? I really hope that makes sense. Okay, let's see what we got. It works. See, now that pulse class is being added and removed every beat. This is because it's being, well, because right here we've timed the, whoa, we've got some craziness going on there. Now what's happening there is we're not clearing the interval. So I need to use the clear interval when the audio needs to be paused, right? So clear interval and get the interval ID. Well, I haven't set that yet, but I'll just call it intervals, right? So what I need to do is wrap this, or just kind of place this set interval inside of a variable called intervals, and then when I clear the interval, it'll know what I'm talking about, right? Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. JavaScript is kind of one of those that are just kind of like windy roads, right? So anyway, let's try this again. Play the song. It's rocking out to the beat. Stop the song. And the clear interval function right here has stopped the pulse from, or has stopped the pulsing function from happening on every pulse, which is defined by our beats per minute, right? So let's just look at our handiwork. That is something beautiful. I really like it. Okay, be sure to check out the DevTips GitHub repo to get all the code here in the animated music player repo, where everything is ready for you to go. We even have a working demo here on GitHub pages. You can test it out and play with it right now, and that link will be in the description. Now we are done, and you have the coolest music player on the internet. For more of my face telling you coding type things, check out DevTips channel. Last week we did a video called the top 5 hacks in Bootstrap 3. It's really good. You can find a link to that in the description below. And also check out my Vine account called Just the Tips, where I focus on quick, actionable tips for maintaining a healthy and productive creative lifestyle. I drop knowledge like this.
To be an effective creator, choose one thing to do today and ignore everything and everyone else until it's done.
And this.
When doing creative work, go into hyper-focus mode by listening to one song on repeat for hours. It's awesome.
Links to that is also in the description below. That's it for me now. Thank you for watching, and everyone keep on hacking.